people who gave their options, their places to go while A&M fans are out on the road going to these games, trying the best cuisine in the Southeast. We have a whole panel arranged here to talk about some of those places, some of the best places to eat in any SEC college town. Well, let's go top fives. Let's start with Jay. He's kind of the newest guy on here. Jay, give me top five or some best places to go that you know in the Southeast for A&M fans that they have to hit up.
All right. So I think the first spot I'm going to go with is going to be Baton Rouge. Obviously, I think we all know that Cajun cuisine, Creole cuisine, both of those are absolutely incredible. But in Baton Rouge, there's a spot that my family goes to every time we visit. It's called Parane's, and it is some of the best Cajun food you'll ever have. I mean, it's just a solid restaurant. We go there.
What's your go-to dish? What's your go-to dish?
You got to get something blackened, right?
Right.
I mean, if you're going to get any kind of Cajun cuisine, you got to go with something blackened. So I usually see what they have on special. I mean, even if you're not a fish person, you can get blackened chicken that's still delicious. And got to get boudin balls. Got to get boudin balls as an appetizer. So one of and again, another appetizer or side, you got to get hush puppies. If you're going to go to a Cajun restaurant, you get hush puppies.
Or Long John Silver's.
Well,
I don't think so.
So we found out who's keeping Long John Silver's in business.
Yeah. Hush puppies are good, man.
I just negated all of my food picks for the rest of the episode. All right, Jay, what's next?
All right. So next, we're going to go back to College Station, and it's not necessarily College Station, but it is the Brazos Valley. I think this is a pick that will probably be seconded at some point. If you're going to go to College Station, it's worth making an hour trip west, going to Snow's in Lexington. I think you have to make that trip at least once in your life, even if you're not from Texas. If you're from Texas, you probably have to make that trip 5 or 6 times at least. It's an experience unlike any other. The brisket, there's a reason it's been the Texas Monthly's #1 pick. The brisket is just unreal, but the star of the show for me is the pork shoulder steak. It's something that's not necessarily as common at other restaurants or at other barbecue joints around the state. But if you're going to go to Snow's, get the pork shoulder steak. Thank me later.
The pork steak has made more of an appearance at barbecue joints that I've seen. Like it's up and coming. It's like it's a 5-star recruit that could really do some things here in the next couple of years.
Not to mention the hero behind the scenes at Lexington is like an 86-year-old woman, Miss Tootsie. She is incredible.
Miss Tootsie is the queen of Texas barbecue, undisputed. She's an absolute legend.
She is definitely a legend.
All right, Jay, what's next?
So the next one is going to be for that Arkansas trip, which, I mean, we're not going to keep playing in Arlington for too much longer, correct?
That is correct.
Well, I at least have one Arlington spot that you have to hit, and it's not too far from Jerry World. It's going to be Hurtado Barbecue in Arlington.
Okay.
So you may notice a theme here for certain reasons, but Hurtado is actually a spot I had recently. They do some really interesting things up there. Brandon Hurtado, the pitmaster, does what he calls a Tex Q, or a Tex-Mex Q, and he has some influences from Tex-Mex cuisine and some influences from barbecue. But one thing I will say, when you go there, you must get the burrito tacos.
Burrito tacos.
Okay.
Burrito.
Yeah, so they're these tacos with I don't know how you describe them. It's a meat that's basically slow smoked, and I believe he does it with brisket, and it's served with a soup or like a consomme that you dip the tacos in, and it's just a cheesy, delicious, gooey awesomeness that you must get. And of course, all the rest of the meats are incredible there as well. And he does all kinds of specials. For Father's Day, he did a smoked tomahawk steak, which I didn't get the chance to experience it, but I had a buddy send me pictures, and it looked unreal.
Fantastic. All right, so that's 3. Give me 2 more.
All right, no pressure here. So for Ole Miss and Mississippi State, I'm actually going to go a little bit off the wall here. You have to get gas station fried chicken if you're in Mississippi. Now, this may sound like a weird statement, but trust me. If you go to gas stations in rural Mississippi, they have some of the best food you will have in your life, and in particular, the fried chicken. Pretty damn tasty.
So
Well,
I have partaken in that before. In Oxford, Ross Dellinger wrote a story about how Ed Ogeron used to go to a Chevron station in Oxford like once a week and get chicken on a stick. And I tried it out. It was okay. I don't know if I'd pay $6 again, but I know that that's kind of a staple. And fried chicken is that's going to be one of my places, and it's in Mississippi.
So it's better than the actual deer leg that we drug behind our car through Mississippi after one Alabama game one time. But that's a story for another time. All right, Jay, finish us out.
All right. So, I thought about this quite a bit, and it's not necessarily going to be on the SEC schedule, but I think we could see an A&M appearance there. I'm talking about Atlanta.
Okay. Media days.
It could be sometimes. Media days. Yeah, there you go. Or it could be an SEC championship. You never know. The place I wanted to talk about was Fox Brothers Barbecue in Atlanta. They do, I believe they're Texas expats. I could be wrong on that. But I guess Texpats would be the technical term there. But it's a great barbecue spot. I actually stopped there this past fall when I was driving up from Houston to Asheville, North Carolina. Made it a point to stop in there, grab some food. It's a great environment. I think it's a place that people will really enjoy. And like I said, I mean, if you're seeing A&M in the SEC championship game, I'm just saying it's a possibility. It'd be a great place to stop. Make sure that you get their spicy green beans as a side. That is one of the most delicious sides I've ever had.
There you go. Without getting too much, you can just name the restaurant. Any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I think you have to have a few honorable mentions, right? So for the DFW area, there's a ton of great barbecue spots that I would recommend people stop at. Zavala's in Grand Prairie is another one that's not going to be far from Jerry World to stop at. Heim Barbecue, which I believe you may be familiar with, Travis.
That was on Shereen's list, and for sure.
Yeah, and obviously the bacon burnt ends that they have there is basically like a meat snack candy. It's the most delicious, one of the most delicious things I've ever had at barbecue wise. In College Station, we already mentioned Snow's. There's a few other places. If you head a little bit west to Austin, I don't know where people are going to be flying into. Lockhart's always a good place to stop. You have Terry Black's, you have Kreitz, you have so many legendary places out there. But I think one spot that everyone should go to at least once in their life, Leroy and Lewis in Austin. They do some really, really unique stuff over there. Evan Leroy, the pitmaster, is a creative guy. Instead of serving brisket, a lot of the time they'll serve a beef cheek that's sliced, and it's a very, I don't know how to put this. It's not that different from brisket. It's just it's a really cool experience to have something that you don't necessarily get the cut of that often at restaurants. And then they also just do some off the wall specials that are great, and you have to try at least once.
For sure.
And then I think the last part I was going to go to was back to LSU in Baton Rouge. There was a spot called Elsie's in Baton Rouge that, I mean, I'm just going to tell people to look up LC in Baton Rouge, look up that menu, and then get back to me and let me know how awesome you think that menu looks. I think it speaks for itself.
For sure. All right. You're one of our, very, very good expert foodies. Alex is the official food beat reporter of the Eagle by me. So we're going to let Alex go last because he's going to have the good opinion. Zach, I know you hold down the home fort a little bit more than us, but You can give us some College Station. You can give us some of your travels around. Give us some picks to click on food.
Yeah, again, I'm on that. I'm on that high school football beat, even when A&M is out of town. So that typically means that on road games that I'm hanging out here. But looking at some places around town, and you'll kind of catch on to this too. I think downtown Bryan is severely underrated when it comes to food. So they've got a lot of really good things. Cilantro is one of my favorites. I don't know if you guys have been able to frequent there yet, but I wouldn't say it's like a hole in the wall place. I mean, it is a full-fledged restaurant for sure, and they've got plenty of seating and stuff like that. But it's a little bit smaller. It's a little bit more off the beaten path. But it is Mexican food that if you're really feeling it, and I'm not saying that you're lacking of options here in town, but Cilantro is definitely a place that I could go. And then staying in downtown Bryan, Third on Main. If you haven't had a chance to check that place out yet, now it's owned by the same people that own Shipwreck Grill as well as Amico Nabe, which are two great places if you want to check those places out. But Third on Main really offers some cool options. The morning after is one of my favorites. It's cornbread pancakes, spicy pulled pork, white cheese queso, and a fried egg on top. So if you're talking about all the goodness, all the deliciousness that's just piled into one, you really can't go wrong there. Because all of those things are pretty dang delicious. So that's kind of what I would do. Now, Jay had mentioned, there's some great options for barbecue, even just a little ways out of town. If you're talking about in town, I think Fargo's is probably the best bang for your buck whenever you're staying in town. I mean, you go and you get the rib tips. You can get a pint of those bad boys and scarf those down. And that's pretty. You can just make a meal off of that if you want. But, I mean, they've got great ribs. They've got everything else go along with the side. So Fargo's is one of my favorites that I like to go to. If you're feeling fancy, if you got your fancy shoes on, it's one of them Friday nights, maybe, Rudder
Fancy don't let me down.
Rudder Rangers just won a big football game, and you want to celebrate with your boo thing. You could take her to Porter's, which is a pretty delicious option for those that like to go and get a nice steak, or my favorite is the pork chop. It's pretty much the size of your head, and you can make a couple of meals off of it if you'd like, but the pork chop there at Porter's is really bar none. So Porter's is one of the places I really like to go to. Like I said, if you'd like to get a little fancy on the weekends.
It's fitting because we do refer to you as the pork chop of this podcast.
Me?
Yeah, all the time.
Chop? Oh,
yeah, you're the pork chop.
Yeah, they call me
sure.
pork chop because I like pork chops. Porter's is one of my favorites. And then just kind of for a different style, but you still want a great burger, you still want some great food. And Travis, you can attest to this. Harvey Washbangers is one of my faves.
I'm having dinner there tonight.
Are you really?
Yes.
Oh, you get your reservation?
Oh yeah,
right next to one of the washing machines.
I'm gonna be watching that College World Series Game 3 on that patio with a burger in my hand, and it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I bet it will be. But yeah, Harvey Washbanger is one of the more unique places, not just in town, but really in the country, because you go and you can get all your laundry done, and then you can also enjoy a nice burger or a hot dog. They got all kinds of other stuff. And then if you want to talk about places that I would give kind of my honorable mention, Stella Southern Cafe, which, by the way, is owned by the same people of Harvey Washbangers. If you're looking for some really good breakfast food, that's a great place to go. And then I already mentioned a Mexican food place, but Mad Taco is pretty legit. You go and you get some of their GQ, their guacamole queso, and top that off with some good tacos, and it's a good time. So, and the margs are pretty good too.
There you go. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say it because it's my turn now. Harvey Washbanger's best burger in BCS.
Oh,
my opinion. I'm going to say it. I know we can argue. That's an argument we can have later. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Hot take, Travis.
Best burger in BCS.
I have some thoughts.
I know.
some
I
thoughts,
know.
too.
I know. That's
I
okay.
have heard great things about Top of the Hill Burger. I have not gone there yet.
It's good. It's
Not
good.
gone there yet.
It's probably number 2, but I like me a Harvey Washmanger's burger.
I
Okay.
think we're gonna
My
have to have
turn.
another food episode dedicated to best burgers in College Station.
That's yeah, you just need to have your own podcast that's on food because
That's
you are
also
the
true.
official food reporter of the Eagle, as said by me. Okay, here's my list. We of course go and travel, and we do a lot of road tripping when we go to some of these games. Me, Robert Cessna, and usually the great Brent Zorneman. So we're road tripping along, and we have some spots that we always like to hit. Now, the caveat to this is most of the time we don't actually stay overnight in the college town because those are some expensive hotel prices. We're the next city down the road. So sometimes a lot of these places are either somewhere as we're driving out east that we have to hit, and we always have to go to one of these places. So there might not be actually in the college towns, but if you're like us and you like a good road trip, these are some places that you need to hit first. And this one actually is in the college town, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That is Five Restaurant. Five. It's good old Southern cooking. They had delicious fried chicken. It's one that got mentioned to us as we were heading on the way to SEC Media Days in Hoover, Alabama, and stopped. And it is still to this day my favorite restaurant pick of any place we've gone on any of those road trips. So number 1 is Five in Tuscaloosa. Number 2, I'm going to go with a DFW one. I'm from the DFW area. The best fajitas I've ever had in my life is at Tupinamba in Dallas. It's on Walnut Hill and 75, owned by Eddie Dominguez, who is a former student, former A&M basketball player. A big old A&M logo on the inside. They hold Dallas mustard there sometimes, but best fajitas I've ever had in my life is Tupinamba in Dallas. So when you're up, you got to make the trek over when you go up to the A&M game at Jerry World. For number 3, I'm gonna go Rusty's in Vicksburg. It's a seafood place right on the Mississippi. There's a big old paddle boat parked outside of it. I get the blackened chicken. It's delicious. Vicksburg is about a good dinner time stop for us as we're heading out towards Mississippi or whatever, Mississippi schools, Alabama schools. So we usually stop there and have a meal at Rusty's right on the Mississippi in Vicksburg. Number 4 now, I'm going to go with Strawn's in Shreveport. Again, Shreveport, not necessarily, it isn't an SEC town, but it's kind of on the way out of there. It's going to be the best strawberry shortcake you've ever had. Plus great burgers, little diner style place. It's delicious. It's right next to the camp. They have several locations. The original is right next to the campus of Centenary College there in Shreveport. Great little diner spot. Get some stuff there. Number 5 in Meridian, Mississippi, which is usually where we stay to go to Mississippi State, just down the road from Mississippi State. Weidman's in Meridian. It's this old, it's in a building that's like 200 or 300 years old or something, and the restaurant's been there since who knows when. It's an old restaurant, but we got brunch there. It was delicious. Got some big old fluffy French toast, but they're open all day, all kinds of offerings. It was delicious. Weidman's in Meridian, Mississippi. I'm going to do here's my honorable mentions. We a lot of times have to cover games really late into the night, and so we don't get dinner. You got to throw Cookout on there. Cookout is delicious. It is. If you need that late night fix and it's the only thing, you got to go to Cookout. In Fort Worth, Maggie's R&R. It's a newer place. It's in the Magnolia District. Great cocktails, great food, delicious. Go there. In Bryan College Station, the new cool place to go is Gate 12, right there by the airport. Get to see the planes land, get some good food. Great. And then my last honorable mention, I'm going to throw in there because I do baseball. I'm a baseball guy. My favorite thing to cover to go to College World Series. If you're in Omaha, if the Aggies are in Omaha, I know this is football, but if you're in Omaha, got to go to Blatt, which is right over the fence of TD Ameritrade Park. They used to actually have one in Dallas, but it closed down. But the one up there, it is delicious food. You got to get the pretzel bites. They have pretzel bite appetizers that are delicious. That's my list. Flip. We're done.
You missed one. You missed one.
Well, it's your turn now, so step up.
Well, you missed 2. and Zach might know about this place, the Jalapeno Tree in Jacksonville.
We
That's
always do eat at the now.
that
There's a
is-
reason.
that is a
I was wondering why the
go-to.
jalapeno tree didn't get honorable mention.
That
Yeah.
Jacksonville, Texas, by the way, not Florida. But also, the go-to when in doubt, if any of these places are closed, it is Longhorn Steakhouse, and we just have to mention that because Longhorn Steakhouse, it's reliable, it's consistent, and it's always open for some reason.
9 times out of 10, if we're on a road trip, we're actually probably just eating at the Longhorn Steakhouse because we know what we're gonna get. So you uncovered the secret. And yes, we always eat at the Jalapeno Tree in Jacksonville on the way out of East Texas, out of town. Just tradition. So you're
But
right.
Why?
Those are two that are on the list. Not on the list, but on what we do typically. So Alex, take it away.
All right. So my number one, Mississippi and fried chicken seem to be a common theme. So my number one is Walnut Hills Cafe in Vicksburg, Mississippi. And Walnut Hills is special because they have round tables where you can eat family style meals. If you go there, the only thing you are allowed to get is the fried chicken. If you get anything else, which Travis did, you will be disappointed. So
I got fried chicken.
did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you got blackened chicken. I'm sorry. I apologize to you, Travis. But the thing to get there is the fried chicken. So be sure to get that. Number two, there's a big rivalry in Tuscaloosa between two barbecue joints. I'll admit, I have never been to Archibald's, but I love Dreamland Barbecue. It's definitely unique. You got to go to the location in Northport. Don't go to the one in Tuscaloosa. The one in Northport is a little nicer, and it's way less crowded. The interesting thing about Dreamland is, whereas here in Texas, you go to a Mexican restaurant and get chips and salsa, they bring you a plate of white bread and barbecue sauce as kind of the free appetizer. So that's something a little unique and different. You got to get the ribs. The ribs are the thing to get there. My number three is on the other side of the state of Alabama in Auburn, Mama Goldberg's. All the tourists are going to tell you, go to Toomer's, get the lemonade. Yes, do that. It is good lemonade. But one of my favorite stories traveling in the SEC was at Mama Goldberg's. After A&M lost to Auburn in 2018, I was still in college. One of my friends that I was with, she was friends with Anders Carlson, the Auburn kicker, and he met up with us.
Name drop.
We met up for dinner at Mama Goldberg's. Let's just say he may or may not have used his football player powers to get us free nachos, but these nachos
Wait, hold on. No, time out. Before you start, Jay, do you have football player powers that give you free food? Like, is this come with name, image, likeness? Like, that's the next thing is you get free food powers? Explain this.
That's what I would exclusively use my name, image, and likeness for, if I'm being honest.
Free food.
Okay.
Well,
I
Jay
just
was
use
never
it
a
for free
kicker,
food.
though. He was never up on that echelon. He was only a defensive.
Oh,
lineman,
so only kickers get to have the free food power. Is this how this works?
Well,
Yeah, I think
okay.
so. It's
These,
mostly the specialists.
these,
Okay.
these are
Continue, Alex. I'm sorry. I
these
just had
are
to
different
verify.
kind of nachos. So
I had to fact check your sources there. Sorry. Continue.
Kickers
That's
get
fair.
nachos. Defensive linemen they get something a little bit more substance.
We get Frio Light.
Look, if I was a restaurant and a guy like Jay comes in with a barbecue freak shirt and he's an A&M football player, no question about it, I'm giving him free food. I mean, especially with the following Jay's got on Twitter. I mean, Snow should
Verified.
be doing that.
Verified.
Yeah,
Hashtag
verified, unlike the rest of us. But anyway, so these nachos are a little different. They're called the Mama's Nachos. They're literally Doritos nacho cheese chips with melted cheese and jalapenos, and for some reason they are delicious. But the funny part about that story was when we were there, we were watching Alabama play LSU 3 weeks before Auburn was supposed to play Alabama, and one of the guys that was at dinner said, "Hey, Anders, do you think you guys are gonna have a chance to beat them?" And he goes, "Absolutely not. They're gonna kick our ass." And sure enough, they lost by 4 touchdowns 3 weeks later. But that's my number three. Okay, number four. It's a pit stop place, and it's called In-Laws. It's outside of Lake Charles, in a town called Iway, spelled like Iowa, the state, pronounced Iway. I don't know why. But they serve some of the best boudin I've ever had in my life. And they serve all different kinds of boudin. I got pepper jack. I got some other kind of cheese in there, and it was just incredible. So I would definitely, if you need, and it's attached to a gas station. So, if you're driving to Baton Rouge and, you get through Beaumont, through Lake Charles, and you're like, oh man, I'm not going to make it there in one tank of gas. Stop there at that gas station, get you some boudin to power through that last hour 30. And it's really good boudin. And my number 5, we're going over the great state of Georgia. I love the Varsity in Atlanta. The food, it's not anything too great, but it's kind of the experience of going there in downtown Atlanta. It's right across from Georgia Tech. You can get a lot of food for cheap, but it's just something that's fun and easy. I think the location in Athens just closed though, from what I saw on Twitter. So you got to go to the one in Atlanta. But kind of the one way I want to close it is, Travis, you already mentioned one of these places, but throughout the Southeast, when in doubt, there's 2 places that you can always really rely on. One of them you already mentioned is Cookout. The other one is Waffle House, which is something we don't have here in College Station, unfortunately.
Not a Waffle House, it's a Waffle Home.
Yeah, exactly. And so, first of all, I have a love-hate relationship with Cookout. I go there and I get excited. For some reason, I leave disappointed a lot of times, but I think I'm getting the wrong thing. But without fail, every time I get the Cheerwine slush, which Cheerwine you can't get in Texas, but the Cheerwine slush is incredible. And then, at Waffle House, you get some hash browns, you get a pancake with some chocolate chips. It's incredible. And I think their burgers are a little underrated too.
That's okay. That's a hot take. I've only eaten at Waffle House on an STC road trip once, and there's only one way to do Waffle House on an SEC road trip, and that is let Billy Lucci pay for your bill. That's the only way to do Waffle House on an SEC road trip.
Pulls out that Texax credit card.
There you go.
Jay, what are your thoughts on Cookout? I know you've got some.
I mean, first of all, Cheerwine is very, very underrated, I think, because Texans don't know about it, and if we do, for some reason, some guy got really defensive over Dr. Pepper versus Cheerwine. I think you can enjoy both, but that could just be me. But I mean, look at the value you get at a Cookout. There's so many different things. I mean, you can get chicken nuggets as a side. It's absurd.
I've never heard Robert Cessna rave over something more than the milkshake he got at Cookout.
Oh, the milkshakes at Cookout.
And they have like
superb.
80 flavors or something ridiculous like that.
Golly.
Well, guys, this has been great. Jay, thank you so much for coming. I'm going to give you the last word on food. What did we leave out? What do people need to know? What is just your last word on food for the A&M faithful for this podcast episode?
Well, I was very surprised that you and Zach didn't mention Wings and More, considering how much,
that was our place. Yeah.
how much we used to eat there.
That is true.
And how Jay does not like ranch dressing.
I mean, blue cheese is just better. Let's be honest here. And then I also wanted to say that it's time. You mentioned it. College Station doesn't have a Waffle House, Alex. It's time to change that. Waffle House folks, if you're listening, come to College Station. We will gladly support you.
And do more than just like a weird food truck thing that they did once and teased everybody.
Yeah.
I'll be there at 3 a.m. to get my hash browns scattered, smothered, and covered. It'll be a great experience. Come to College Station, please, Waffle House.
There you
I
go.
stole toilet paper from the Waffle House in Panama City during spring break one time. I think
my first Waffle House experience was actually on spring break in Orange Beach, Alabama.
I think we have a name for the podcast now. I think I stole toilet paper from the Waffle House in Panama City. That
sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a
Are
plan.
you actually Florida man, Zach?
That's what Pork Chop says. Pork Chop from Florida.
Well done. Well played. Well, everybody, thanks so much for joining us for this special food edition of the My Aggie Nation podcast. If you have any complaints, thoughts, ideas, you want to throw something out there, just tweet it at Alex Miller because he's the one that you're going to want to talk to. That's at Mill20. Is that what it
Nope,
is?
that's not right, and I'm not going to tell you what it is.
At Mill20 on Twitter. Give him all your grief and problems, and he will gladly accept it because that's what he does. So thank you for Alex, Zach, and Jay for joining us this week on this special edition, which you'll probably be listening to all the way into the football season because it's just so rich and plentiful with food knowledge. So for those guys, I'm Travis Brown. This is the My Aggie Nation podcast, and we'll see you next week.